you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, the early season that makes official. Welcome to 16 years and 2,800 episodes of the Chris Voss Show. We're going to cross 3,000 episodes this year, so stay tuned for that, assuming I ever start feeling my legs again. Anyway, guys, go to Goodreads.com for it's been a long time, folks. I'm old. Go to Goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Facebook.com/Chris Voss, and YouTube.com/Chris Voss. Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind. Today's featured author comes to us from bookstolifemarketing.co.uk. With expert publishing to strategic marketing, they help authors reach their audience and maximize their book success. Today, amazing young lady on the show. We're going to be talking about her books. She's got quite a few books in the works, so she's a multi-book author. Her latest book came out September 16th, 2025, called Howie the Unusual Bear by Laure Stack. We're going to get in it with her, find out her details and all the cool stuff that she's up to and how you can enjoy the entertainment and education she provides. She's a retired special education teacher with 30 years plus of experience in teaching, and she lives in Lake Arrowhead, California, with her husband, 3 dogs, 2 cats. She loves kids. I'm learning to speak today, evidently. Animals and nature. Boy, that sounds like a good threesome to appreciate. Welcome to the show, Laure. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I am excellent. We're glad to have you on the show. Give us any .coms, websites, social media, wherever you want people to find you on the interwebs.
Right now, it's authorlaurestack.com. That's my main website for the time being, and when it changes, I will let everybody know.
Sounds good. So give us a 30,000 overview. What's inside this book, Howie the Unusual Bear?
Because in the classrooms today, I am noticing whether I'm in kindergarten or 10th grade, kids are all different. They're really different. I mean, when I was in school, we were all pretty generic. And these kids, even in kindergarten, I mean, some will come in with pink hair, some come in with the punk style, they're all little individuals. and they really want people to respect that individuality. But it's important for people that are different to value who they are and their differences. But it's also important for other people to accept people the way they are. You know, you don't look like I do, but you still need to treat me with respect and kindness you would treat anybody with.
Yeah.
And I think kids from the get-go need to understand that they need to, treat everyone with the same respect, and, kind of marvel at how different the kids are in your class, because they come up with the most incredible ideas, these kids. And, but I've seen, because somebody chooses to dress a certain way, or there's just something about them, kids will stay away from them.
Yeah. And
I feel really, really badly for them, because, that child has so much to offer. It may not be what you and your friends think is important, but everyone has value. Every child has, things to share with the world. And so that's where Howie came from.
So how does it play out in the story with Howie? Give us some samples of maybe what's he after, his journey? What is his motivation as a character?
His motivation as a character is to always take care of himself. As far as I'm okay, this is who I am. Howie knows who he is. He knows the things he likes and how he wants to live. And so throughout the book, he thinks, I hope I find a bear just like me. He's looking. But in the meantime, he's, planting a garden, building a log home, and snowboarding, and getting together with all the other animals in the forest, and things that most bears don't do. And so he takes care of himself in that way. Give up. I mean, he never gets, down or out. So you see him proceeding through the book thinking, okay, if I never meet somebody, I've got to create this in my life, and I've got to create that in my life. And, and then I'll be fine. And he ends up having all of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he found, he found a bear just like him, and a bear that shared his tastes and qualities, and, and so it's really a message for kids to, honor who you are, because who you are is important. You are not like any other person on this planet. We're all completely unique, and value yourself. And even if others don't value you the way you think they should, just hold your head up high and just know that you are fantastic, just like you are.
Yeah.
We're
all individuals. We all need to be graceful to each other. And, the beauty of the differences between all of us, is important, and it's complementary. And I think more people need to realize that. America was a great melting pot of lots of diverse groups. They didn't always get along, but they got along for the condition of all being Americans.
right.
And and we're all different. We don't have to be the same. God,
No.
can you imagine if, and I just had an epiphany. Can you imagine if we were all the same?
Boring.
I think you can, one of the things I always hearken this back to is the 50s, when the IBM used to have that standardized suit that men would have to wear to work. And it always had to be black. I think it was black tie or something. I have to go look it up, but it was black suit, black tie, black shoes. It was basically mind-numbingly conformist, and everybody had to look the same. And, and then along came the 60s, and suddenly there was color and music. And, there was this thing where it just wasn't our way or the highway sort of mentality, that there seemed to be this drabness in the world. And suddenly there was color and light and music, and, and people that were boring and drab were like, oh, this is awful. Whatever. No, it's change is good. It's healthy. And, God, imagine a world where we just lived in that IBM sort of black and white world.
Yeah.
It was so boring. Now you see people, they're all colorized on Friday. What do they call that when you're relaxed on Friday at work?
Oh, yeah.
Dressed relaxed.
Fun Fridays.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking particularly today, because there is so much division in society, and I know that trickles down. And so it's gotten harder, not easier, to accept people that are different and think differently and look differently. It's harder than ever.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, they just, because of, I think social media has really reinforced that, because people have algorithms. And so they only see a reflection of them if that's what they follow. I try and diversify mine, and I actually control mine. Every now and then I'll watch something too long. Like the other day, I watched one of those eating mukbang videos where the people eat 50 Big Macs in a sitting, and you're
Oh,
just like,
no.
and you just sit there just going, please don't stop.
Oh,
No, I care about you as a human being. Don't do that to yourself, And I used to be really overweight and did that to myself back in the day. I didn't eat 50 Big Macs, but I need to have, one or two, and everything extra size. But then you know how to fix that in your algorithm. But I think people see too much of themselves, and they use that as what's that thing that people do? It's a reticulator activated system in the brain, and one of the reasons it keeps us from going crazy is we see other things that are like us, and we validate that oh, I must be smart because I bought a red Chevy and I just saw 5 red Chevys on the road.
Yeah.
So clearly, it kind of reinforces our decisions. But I think it could go on steroids, especially with social media, a thing where we start looking at people who are different and we see them as an enemy, as opposed to,
yes,
that's kind of an interesting flavor. It's kind of like when you go to 31 flavors, you see all the ice creams. I like a couple of the ice creams. Those are my favorite. But, sometimes it's fun to find out what are the other flavors like and what they're up to. That's why I have a podcast. People come on and tell their stories because I'm sick of mine. And so is my audience. And so I get to hear other people's stories, and I get to find out, why'd you do that in life? That's kind of interesting. You took a different path this way. And to me, that's the real juice. That's the real flavor. That's that real, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a French word, and I don't know French, but that's the flavor of life. I love people that are different, because I'm like, why did you do it that way?
My name, by the way, is French.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Laure de la Chapelle. But I got married and it's Stack.
Now, what inspired you to write this particular book?
The Howie book?
Yes.
Oh, it's when through the years watching kids come into the classroom. Remember, I was talking about how they're all different.
Uh-huh. Was there like an aha moment though, where you said, darn it, I'm going to write this thing? And what did it take to get it written, I guess?
It was probably about 3 or 4 years seeing kids at all different levels that were completely different than anything I had been at that age. And at first I took it in because I just kind of wanted to get to know these different personalities. And the more time went on, it became just fascinating to me who people were, and the kids, and who they want to be, who they want to look like and sound and act, and and they need to, whether the outside world gives them the acceptance they need or they want or they should have, they need to respect themselves and make sure that they're keeping themselves, away from the people who will be negative.
Yeah.
This book can open up those conversations.
Yeah, the conversations are really important. And this is targeted what age group of children, would you say?
I would say anywhere from K through 3, kinder through 3rd grade. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's important to learn when you're young, too. We're not born into racism. We're not born into xenophobia. We're not born into hating people that aren't look or act exactly like us. That's a taught behavior. That's a learned behavior. And so I think it's important that children get this message very early on, that it's okay to be different. And, a lot of them may be feeling they're different. I'm very different than the other boys and girls. And does that make me weird? Does that make me bad? Does that make me, I can imagine you have a conversation with this. I probably had that conversation when I was a kid. How come I'm not like, there was always, I was a nerdy little kid, skinny little kid, I couldn't beat up anyone really, and I'd be like, how come I can't be like those guys who are they're the star athletes and stuff like that. And, but then I had to learn that it was okay to be in my place. People like them for them, but now people like me for me, and all those gym guys are fat now and old, and I'm just old, and people like me on my podcast, so I win. I don't know. I'm just being funny, folks. Now you have 3 books we're going to talk about today, and then I think you have a total of maybe 6 that include in the works.
Actually, 7. 3, 4,
7.
No, 6.
I mean, you're just writing them as we're doing the show here, and just keep making more.
Almost.
That's how prolific writers work, folks. We have some people that are on the show every 3 months. Yeah, they got a new book, and if they're with the big publishers, it's about every 6 months to 8 months. We have the guys on from all the books like Jack Ryan and Tom. I forget the thing, but all that jazz. And those guys pump out books. They're like machines. So that's good that you're doing that, though.
The thing is, I've been writing since I was a toddler. I had nothing to do. That's what I would do. I would write. I would research.
So let's talk about that. What was the inspiration? Did you read books and there was maybe a writer who inspired you, or did you you said you were getting bored, and so you just kind of found it was a good outlet for you?
I love to write. And when I was lonely, because I was not one of the most popular kids in the school. So I was you're just kind of overlooked. So what I would do when I didn't have kids to hang out with is we would have I found this set of encyclopedias all about dogs, just dogs, in our garage when we moved into this house. And so I took each one of those and went into in-depth stories about these dogs and made them into books. And, I didn't know it then, but I wanted to grow up and be a writer, making that a career, but I didn't. I became a teacher instead. So I think this is just kind of once I realized, oh my gosh, I want to write again, it just, boom, and I never stopped.
That's great. Yeah. Now, let's get into the second book that we wanted to talk about today. I believe Once Upon a Boy is the next one. Okay. Yes. Tell us about that book.
Okay. That book came about because I heard an Asian folktale. And it was about a man who sat under a wishing tree. He didn't know it was a wishing tree, but he sat under this tree and he's pondering things, and he says, it would really be nice to have clean clothes today, or, something. And boom, he had them. It'd be really nice to have a new car. Boom, there it is. So he gets these things, and then all of a sudden he looks at all the things and he sits back and he goes, oh, wait a minute, I couldn't have created that. There's no way. And poof, it's gone.
Oh.
Because, and in my story, it's the same with a little boy who wishes for things. He doesn't sit under a wishing tree. But my character learns that it's not enough just to wish, I want this, I want that. But you have to know that you're capable and not give up. You have to believe in yourself. I wanted to be a teacher, one thing, and a writer since I was little. And you just don't give up. Things get hard, but you got to keep going. And that's what this book is about. It's about realizing that you are the key to your dreams. You are your decisions are going to create your reality.
What's the name of this boy? And tell us a little bit more about his character.
Liam. I worked with a special ed autistic little boy named Liam. And he was the cutest little boy you've ever seen. Darling. And imagination and it was fun working with him. And I would always look forward to seeing him when I would arrive at that school, whether I was in his classroom or not. So when this idea came up, I thought, Liam, I'm naming him Liam.
What a wonderful inspiration to share in your book. And then what would you, I imagine all your books are targeted the same sort of age group. Would that be correct?
Pretty much, except for my last two. Okay. The third one actually is for maybe fourth grade. Okay. Third, fourth grade. The leaf that went on an accidental road trip.
Okay.
Based on a true story. Yeah.
Really? Based on... These leaves are hitchhiking, man. It's getting out of control.
So I live in the mountains, and my girlfriend and I were going into the valley to go to a concert and spend the night. And this oak leaf was on my car the whole trip. And it didn't blow off on the freeway. I thought, thing's gone. Nope. And a little part of it came off. But it was there for the whole trip. And I said to my girlfriend, I said, I'm going to write a story about a leaf like this that went on an accidental road trip. Now, the road trip my leaf went on was not my trip. I made up his trip.
In the book? Yeah. You should charge that guy for gas money because he's just clearly, just getting a free ride. That's not appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do that to my dogs, too. I tell them to go get jobs every day. I'm like, quit freeloading. So,
that's funny.
It's interesting how children can use their imagination to enjoy stories like this, where they can think of a leaf and think of it as a human being. When we get old, we kind of lose our imagination. We get kind of jaded. We were talking about this last few shows. And so it's great that, there's these sort of resources that parents can have to read to their children. And one thing we always encourage on the show is not only get books for your children to read, maybe quit handing them the iPad, folks. And not only that, read to them. My parents read to me. My mom was reading to me in my womb, or her womb. It wasn't my womb. I'm kind of possessive that way. So I'm the first child. It was my womb. I always tell my siblings that I took all the good DNA and smartness out of the womb. I just cleared all the shelves, took all the good stuff and left them with the crap, which is, I think, true at this point. Anyway, I have some issues, so I think we all know that. But no, this is cool that, kids can learn this. But yeah, parents reading to their kids, and we talk about this a lot on the show with psychologists and scientists. We are not built to look at 2D screens. It mucks with us. And three-dimensional, especially reading, just encouraging grows the brain. We've seen the people that are on Twitter with two-dimensional screens. So don't turn it like that, folks. And, you might end up as a really insecure billionaire that has small body parts. I don't know what that means, but it's true. Anyway, I'm getting sued now. So anyway, it's the leaf that went on an unexpected road trip. You talk about this. Tell us about some of the other books that you have in the works right now.
Okay. But I'm going to go back 1 second to what you said about how adults, we start thinking, we're fuddy-duddies. And for some reason, I think like kids. So that's what my brain does with the leaf on the car. That's where my brain goes. So it makes it easy. Another book that's coming out right now, I wrote about a dog we had. He ended up passing, but it was a special dachshund we had. And we have 2 cats. And we live in the mountains. And they interact with squirrels, raccoons, everything in the mountains. And so I wrote a comical 11-chapter story about Cooper, Winnie, and Petey Panther, the adventures of all of those animals. So it's humorous, and it's probably for maybe 3rd, 4th grade, because there's chapters. Yeah.
Lots of reading.
And then the next book that I'm doing is something kind of interesting, because I like weird things also. And I wrote a book about the cryptids of the United States. And do you know what a cryptid is?
A cryptid?
Yes, a cryptid.
Are those beetles that stay underground for 17? Okay.
No.
I don't, clearly.
Like Bigfoot is a cryptid.
Oh, okay. Is there...
It's a creature that a lot of people have seen, but it hasn't been scientifically proven. And so...
Sounds like my soulmate at this point.
I'm interested in all that stuff. So I researched all the states in the United States, and I found out that each state has a minimum of 5.
Oh, really?
Cryptids. Yeah. So
there's a lot of Bigfoots running around.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Bigfoot's everywhere. And there's different versions of Bigfoot.
Oh, really?
But I was shocked to learn about all the sea serpents in all our lakes.
Oh, really?
Almost every state has a sea serpent in a lake. Yeah. I'm not kidding you.
I believe you. That's just, I mean, it seems appropriate at this point. Yeah.
And so my book it talks about a lot of weirdness and weird creatures. And so it should be kind of fun. And the second book is about sharks.
Oh.
I love sharks. And I love...
You're one of those people who likes the Shark Week there on the Discovery Channel?
Not really, because they take sharks and their behavior and they kind of blow them up. And I don't like the attention sharks get as being man-eaters and, sharks. Yeah. So I used to watch them. Mm-hmm. But since I've been swimming with them and kind of gotten to know sharks more, I think they get a bad rap. And they're just, sensationalized. I did an in-depth book about sharks for middle schoolers. Yeah.
Yeah, because sharks are people too.
Brilliant pictures. Huh? Uh-huh. But it is in the works right now. It is being illustrated. Yeah.
What do you find that you love about writing these types of books and targeting towards children and stuff and hoping to inspire their imagination and entertain them?
I will tell you, I talk to kids. I teach in everywhere from kindergarten to high school because I'm a substitute at this part of my life. And the older kids, I would tell them that when I was working on these books, that's a book I want. Oh my gosh, how fun is that? I can't wait to read your book. And I said, that'll be probably about 2-3 years from now. But
you can read the ones that are published first.
Yeah, all of them said, I want to read that book. And I actually walked into a Barnes & Noble a couple of years ago, and I asked, where's the section where I could find a book like this? And they said, we don't have anything like that. And I went, okay. I was like halfway through my book, putting it together. And
it's good market research.
Yeah. So I thought, you know what? You didn't before, but you have one now. Yeah. So.
That's a great way to fill the gap, because sometimes I see a lot of books that I'm like, I think this has been done like about a few times. But, it's funny. I was thinking that, I can't remember a lot of the books that maybe I've read over the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, most of it's audiobook, but I can always remember, and I think most people can, the books that shaped them as children. They read, like where the wild things are. I must have read that book like 10,000 times, pondering over the pages. Dr. Seuss was a huge impact on me, which is probably why I repeat everything and say stupid, simple stuff. It's a podcast, folks. And so, were there books that shaped you when you were a child that you remember?
A lot of fairy tales. And Dr. Seuss, but I loved fairy tales, and I had books of them, thick books of all different kinds of fairy tales, and I kind of marveled at how kind of creepy some of them were. Here I am, a little girl, but I found them kind of, some of them were but a lot of them were like, no. So it just fascinated me. Yeah. And so that's basically, what else? I like to read about anything with wildlife, animals, anything about any kind of animal. That was me.
Yeah. Animals are great examples of, human behavior, but it's kind of an easy way to mirror back to us our behavior, but through a different sort of venue. Instead of a person going through that, we can see an animal going through that, and maybe we can just, identify, or it seems like a better story, but it's a great learning format. And it's also great to learn to appreciate animals and give them value. The worst thing I hate is when I see people that are grown that they have really poor emotional intelligence. Maybe that's the way to put it, in dealing with animals and caring about animals. And they have a real deference to the value in them and treating them well. So
I think animals are angels on earth. I call mine my fur angels, because they're they serve such a important role in our lives, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I couldn't survive without mine. I don't know what I'd be without my dogs. I'd probably be a mess. Oh, no, I'm already a mess, but I'd be bigger mess. Twice as much mess.
Well, we adopted a dog after that one dog passed. I won't even talk about that, but we waited a year and we adopted a female dog that was pregnant and we didn't know it.
Oh, that's a surprise. That's a 9-for-1 price.
So we had 6 puppies.
Six for one price.
Yeah. We kept 2 of the puppies. And basically, yeah, they're our whole life. Right now, I'm on a dog vacation. First vacation they've ever been on. I got the whole family here. They're a year old now.
Yeah, because, I mean, dogs need some vacation time, too. I mean, they work really hard, 9 to 5 at their jobs. You know, they're always commuting and stuff, digging holes in the yard, that sort of shit. A lot of work goes into it, pooping, peeing, barfing, whatever else they shouldn't have eaten up in the yard. I just got a puppy that was like 9 months old that I adopted about 3 months ago. And so I'm going through the fun of the 2 years of husky terror. I call him the terrorist now. That's his new name, the terrorist. He terrorizes my older female puppy, and then he terrorizes me. He terrorizes everybody. But he's all love. He's just misunderstood, evidently.
Oh, that's our Luke. That's my Luke. Yeah.
I don't know whose idea was it to put a giant Ferrari body onto a 10-month-old puppy. Shit for brains. But whoever's idea this was, I want to beat them silly because he's got way too much strength and power and size. He's actually bigger than my 8-year-old dog at 9 months.
Oh,
and so he's just being, he's going to be huge. And so he's just a terrorist. He thinks he's a lap dog too. And you're like 50 pounds already at 8 months. No, you're not a lap dog. So
what kind of a dog?
It's a husky.
Oh, that's right. You said husky.
Yeah. So they're huskies are basically like living bandsaws or tree shredders. Like I'm going to just rent them out to a tree shredder service. You can give them like bones and sticks and stuff, and you just and you're like, you shredded that already, you know. And you have to keep feeding them, otherwise it's your couch that comes next. You got to keep.
We have a lot of huskies up in the mountains. A lot of huskies. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're cool dogs.
They're cool dogs, but they're a lot of work. Definitely a lot of work. So you got to be ready for them, folks. Just don't go get a husky. Learn about these dogs before you get them, because they're not like most dogs. You know, you tell them what to do, and they just go, "That's really cool thought you got there. I'll get back to you on that, and I'm going to do whatever I want." And
and they're escape artists.
Oh, they are genies, man. If they can find a way to escape, they are out, and they are gone in seconds flat. And they're running 500 miles an hour wherever the next place is.
That's right. My whole community, it's okay. And they post it, neighborhood post. It's not just saw a husky running down, you know, it's, okay, that's mine.
That's the number one way they die, unfortunately, is they escape and they have no concept of cars. Like I've sat next to the road with my husky pulling on the leash, and I'm holding her at the edge of the road, and the cars are just zooming by within feet of her face, and she just doesn't care. She's whatever. I'm going
across the road.
Oh yeah, it's a miracle my dogs have ever lived to 10 years with some of the crap they've gotten themselves into. But so as we go out, anything more we want to promote and talk about before we leave?
No, I just thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy my books. I really appreciate being here.
Thank you. And we appreciate having you. What an inspiring story. And it's so wonderful to see, you know, authors, you know, wherever you are in life that start to really excel and succeed and put out multiple books and really share their inspiration to the world. And you never know whose lives with books you're going to change or what impact you're going to have. But it definitely has an impact. I mean, sometimes people come up to years later and they're like, hey, your book really impacted me, changed my life. And you're like, wow, I just wrote it because I was bored one day. But thanks. That's great. No, I mean, that's what we do. We share stories and improve life. So as we go out, give us your final pitch out for people to pick up your books and any.com, social media, wherever you want people to find you on the interwebs.
Amazon.com, All of my books are on Amazon.com. They also will eventually be on my website, but they're not right now. So go to Amazon.com. Laure Stack.
Thank you, Laura, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Folks, order up your books wherever fine books are sold. You can find Howie the Unusual Bear and the other books we discussed on the show on the Chris Voss Show links and wherever fine books are sold. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss for your family, friends, and relatives, or I'll haunt you at night and to give you nightmares. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, youtube.com/Chris Voss. I just threaten my audience every now and then. You got to keep them in line, right? Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.
All right. Great show, Laura.